There is a specific haunting moment that every single person watching this video has experienced. It usually happens at night, right before you fall asleep. The noise of the world dies down, the distractions of the day fade away, and you are left alone in the dark with your own thoughts. In that silence, you feel a sudden, violent clarity. You look back at your day, at the hours you wasted scrolling, the work you avoided, the junk food you ate, the potential you let slip through your fingers, and you feel sick. You feel a heavy, crushing weight on your chest. It's the weight of the gap between who you are and who you know you could be. And in that moment of pain, you make a promise. You clench your fists, staring at the ceiling, and you swear an oath to yourself. Enough. This ends tonight. Tomorrow I am a new person. I will wake up at 6 a.m. I will run. I will read. I will build that business. I will not look at my phone. You visualize this future version of yourself. They are strong. They are focused. They are a machine. You go to sleep feeling relieved, comforted by the fantasy of your own redemption. But then, the sun rises. The alarm screams at 6 a.m. The room is cold. Your eyelids feel like lead. And that warrior you built in your mind last night, they are gone, vanished. In their place is a tired, weak biological animal that wants only one thing: comfort. A negotiation begins in the fog of sleep. Just 5 more minutes. You whisper, I need the rest to be productive later. I'll start on Monday. I deserve this rest. You hit snooze, you roll over, and the cycle of self-betrayal resets. Why does this happen? Why is there such a violent, unbridgeable canyon between your intentions and your actions? Why can you dream like a god but only act like an animal? You have been told that discipline is a character trait. You have been told that you are simply lazy, unmotivated, or broken. You look at successful people, athletes, CEOs, polymaths, and you think they have some magical genetic gift that you lack. You think they don't feel the urge to quit, but that is a dangerous, destructive lie. You do not lack discipline because you are weak. You lack discipline because you are fighting a biological war against 200,000 years of evolution, using weapons that do not work. You are trying to run a modern operating system on ancient hardware that is terrified of effort. What if I told you that trying harder is actually the reason you keep failing? What if the very nature of how you view discipline is chemically impossible for your brain to sustain? Today, we are not going to give you a motivational speech. Motivation is garbage. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are weather. We are going to dismantle the myth of willpower. We are going to open up the hood of your brain and look at the gears of dopamine, identity, and friction that are currently stripped and broken. We are going to explain exactly why you fail, and give you the neurological toolkit to finally stop. The dopamine illusion, the biological sabotage. To understand why you cannot stick to anything, we first have to talk about the currency of your brain, dopamine, but not in the way you usually hear about it on the internet. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure molecule. They think it's the reward you get after you eat the cake, after you win the game, after you get the promotion. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of neuroscience. Dopamine is not the molecule of satisfaction. It is the molecule of craving. It is the engine of desire. In the 1950s, scientists discovered that if you destroy the dopamine receptors in a rat's brain, the rat will not starve because it doesn't enjoy food. This is you, but you aren't starving, you are drowning. For 99.9% of human history, this dopamine system worked perfectly. In a natural environment, high dopamine rewards, like sweet food, social connection, or safety, required high effort. You had to hunt, gather, build, or trek. The craving and the effort were chemically linked. Discipline didn't exist because survival was the only motivation needed, but you do not live in a natural environment. You live in a dopamine casino. We have engineered a world of superstimuli. Your smartphone, fast food, pornography, video games, and social media. Algorithms are all designed to hijack this ancient circuitry. They provide a flood of reward with zero effort. So this creates a catastrophic problem for your brain called reward prediction error. When you sit down to do hard work, writing that essay, learning that code, going to the gym, your brain runs a lightning-fast cost-benefit analysis. Option A, scroll TikTok. Effort, near zero. Dopamine, high, immediate, guaranteed. Option B, do the work. Effort, extremely high. Dopamine, low, uncertain. To your primal brain, choosing option B is not just difficult, it is biologically stupid. Your brain is an efficiency engine. It perceives the disciplined choice as a threat to your energy reserves. Why hunt for a mammoth when there is a buffet of sugar right in front of you? It isn't a character flaw. It is your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do: conserve energy and seek the highest reward for the lowest cost. But it gets worse. By constantly flooding your brain with cheap dopamine, you have raised your baseline for stimulation. This is a process called downregulation. Think of it like listening to loud music. Eventually, your ears go numb, and you need it louder just to hear it. Your dopamine receptors have become numb. This is why normal tasks feel excruciatingly boring to you. Reading a book feels like staring at a wall, because it cannot compete with the hyperspeed stimulation of the internet. A conversation feels slow. A sunset feels dull. You are trying to listen to a whisper, your long-term goals, while standing next to a jet engine, your cheap dopamine sources. Till you fix this chemical imbalance, no amount of vision boards or daily planners will save you. You are chemically handcuffed to the path of least resistance. You are fighting a chemical war with a stick. The identity thermostat, the psychological barrier. Let's go deeper. Let's assume you fix the dopamine. Let's assume you detox. You will still fail if you do not understand the mechanism of homeostasis. Your body has a biological thermostat. If you get too hot, you sweat to cool down. If you get too cold, you shiver to warm up. Your body fights death by maintaining a consistent internal temperature. Your psyche works the exact same way. You have an internal identity thermostat, a set point of who you believe you are. This is what Dr. Maxwell Maltz called psychocybernetics. If your internal identity is, I am a procrastinator, or I am disorganized, or I am the type of person who starts things but never finishes them, then acting with discipline is actually a threat to your ego. It creates cognitive dissonance, the psychological stress of holding two contradictory beliefs. The human brain hates dissonance. It will do anything to resolve it. Waking up at 5 a.m., you are raising your temperature above your set point. For a few days, you can sustain this. This is the white knuckle phase. You feel proud. You feel like you finally cracked the code. But eventually, the pressure builds. Your subconscious mind sounds the alarm. It says, wait, this isn't us. We don't do this. We are the person who sleeps in. We are the person who eats the pizza. Return to baseline. And so, you self-sabotage. You accidentally forget your alarm. You get sick. You pick a fight with your partner. You feel a sudden, overwhelming wave of fatigue or depression. You convince yourself you deserve a break. This isn't an accident. This is your psychological immune system trying to pull you back to the temperature you are comfortable with, even if that temperature is misery. It feels safer to be a failure who is consistent with their identity than a success who feels like an imposter. Most people try to change their outcomes, lose 10 pounds, write a book, or their processes, go to the gym, write 500 words. But they ignore the deepest layer, their identity. Think about a smoker trying to quit. Person A is offered a cigarette and says, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. Person B is offered a cigarette and says, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. Person A still believes they are a smoker who is denying themselves a pleasure. They are using willpower. Eventually, on a stressful day, they will break. Person B has shifted their identity. A non-smoker doesn't need discipline not to smoke. It's simply not what they do. The reason you have zero discipline is that you are waiting to feel like a different person before you act. But psychology works in reverse. You must act to provide the evidence that changes the feeling. You are trapped in a loop where your current identity dictates your actions, and your actions reinforce your identity. To break out, you must understand that every action you take is a vote. Every time you choose the salad over the pizza, you are not just reducing calories. You are casting a vote for the identity of a healthy person. You are resetting the thermostat. The friction theory, environmental design. We've discussed the internal world, the chemistry, and the psychology. Now, we must look at the battlefield, your environment. There is a fundamental law of physics that applies to human behavior, activation energy. In chemistry, activation energy is the minimum amount of energy required to start a reaction. In your life, it is the effort required to switch from doing nothing to doing something. Here is the brutal truth. Humans are terrible at making decisions. We like to think we are rational agents, but we are not. We suffer from decision fatigue. Every time you have to make a choice, should I work out now? What should I eat? Should I answer this email? After a day of making hundreds of micro decisions, your tank is empty. This state is called ego depletion. When you are in this state, your brain defaults to the path of zero friction. If your phone is in your pocket, you will look at it. If the junk food is on the counter, you will eat it. If the remote is on the couch, you will watch TV. You lack discipline because you are relying on decision-making in the moment, rather than environmental design. In advance, you are forcing your tired, dopamine-depleted brain to make the hard choice every single time. That is a losing strategy. The house always wins. People who appear highly disciplined are not engaging in constant Herculean acts of willpower. They are simply not fighting the battles you are fighting. They have rigged the game. They have designed their lives so that the good behaviors have low activation energy and the bad behaviors have high activation energy. Let's look at a practical example. You want to read more and scroll less. Scenario A, your book is on a shelf in another room. Your phone is in your pocket. The friction to read is high. You have to get up, find the book. The friction to scroll is zero. Physics dictates you will scroll. Scenario B, you buy a kitchen safe, a box with a timer. You lock your phone. In it for 2 hours. You place your book, open on the pillow where you sit. Now, the friction. To use your phone is infinite. You physically cannot. The friction to read is near zero. You have inverted the energy cost. You have made the good habit. It is either carrying you toward your goals or it is a riptide pulling you out to sea. If you are trying to be disciplined while sitting in a room designed for distraction, with notifications, pinging, and comfort food. As the military strategist Sun Tzu said, victorious warriors win. First and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. You are going to war against your impulses, every day without setting the battlefield in your favor. Stop trying to resist the temptation, remove the option. The pain paradox, the neuroscience of suffering. Now, we must address the most uncomfortable part of this conversation, the part you don't want to hear. We need to talk about pain, boredom, frustration, the sensation of your skin, crawling when you sit down to focus. We live in a culture that treats discomfort as a pathology, something to be cured, medicated, or distracted away from. Immediately, if we feel bored for 3 seconds, we grab a phone. If we feel sad, we eat. If we feel lonely, we consume content. We have become allergic to negative sensation. But here is the secret that the disciplined elite understand. Pain is not a stop sign. Pain is the data. There is a specific structure in your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, AMCC. Scientists are beginning to view this as the seat of the will to live. Recent studies have shown something fascinating. In obese people, the AMCC is often smaller. In athletes, Navy SEALs, and people who consistently do hard things, it is larger and more active. But here's the key. The AMCC only grows when you do things you do not want to do. If you love running and you go for a run, your AMCC does not grow. It is easy for you. It is only when you feel the resistance, when you feel the limbic friction, that urge to quit, to cry, to run away, and you override it, that the brain physically changes. The neural pathways thicken. You are literally building the hardware of discipline. The reason you have zero discipline is that you interpret that friction as a signal that something is wrong. You think, I'm not motivated right now. I shouldn't do it. I'll wait until I feel like it. You are waiting for the friction to disappear. You are waiting for the work to feel easy. It will never feel easy. The friction is the point. You have to reframe your relationship with suffering. You have to stop viewing hard as bad. Hard is necessary. Hard is where the growth is. When you are in the gym and your muscles burn, you don't panic and leave the gym. You know that burn is the signal of tissue, breaking down to grow back stronger. Why do you treat mental resistance differently? That anxiety. you feel when you start a difficult task, that desire to check your phone, that is simply your brain's version of lifting a heavy weight. It is the signal of adaptation. If you run from it, you atrophy. You must learn to eat the pain. You must learn to look at that resistance, that tight, anxious feeling in your chest, and say, I see you, I feel you, and I am going to move anyway. The micro-commitment, the physics of motion. So, how do we fix this? We know the chemistry, the psychology, the environment, and the neuroscience. But how do you actually change today, right now? How do you stop the cycle without burning out in 3 days? The biggest mistake you make is the all or nothing fallacy. You decide to change your life, so you create a plan that requires a complete personality transplant. You set a goal to work out for an hour, meditate for 20 minutes, read 50 pages, and eat 0 sugar, all starting tomorrow. This creates a massive spike in activation energy. It is like trying to push a 2-ton boulder up a hill from a dead stop. Your brain looks at that mountain of work, calculates the energy cost, and rejects it. You fail before you even start. Brittany, you need to understand the physics of static friction versus kinetic friction. In physics, it takes significantly more force to push a heavy object that is standing still, static, than it does to keep it moving once it's rolling, kinetic. Your goal is not to push the heavy object 100 miles. Your goal is just to get it to nudge 1 inch. This brings us to the most powerful tool for fixing zero discipline, the micro-commitment. You must lower the bar, so low that your brain cannot say no. You must make the habit laughable. If you want to start running, your goal is not run 5 miles. Your goal is put on my running shoes. That's it. If you put them on and take them off, you win. If you want to read, your goal is not read a chapter. Your goal is read 1 sentence. If you want to write, Shash, your goal is open the laptop. This sounds ridiculous to your ego. Your ego wants to be a hero. It wants the grand montage. It wants to post about the grind. But your biology needs the win. When you set a goal to read 1 sentence, and you do it, you get a micro hit of dopamine. You cast a vote for your new identity. And, almost like magic, once you have read 1 sentence, the static friction is broken. You are now in motion. You will likely read 2, then 3, then a page. But even if you don't, you have maintained the habit of showing up. Discipline is not about the intensity of the workout. It is about the consistency of the show up. A terrible workout done on a day you felt like quitting is infinitely more valuable than a perfect workout done when you felt motivated. Why? Because the terrible workout builds the AMCC. It proves to your subconscious that you are the boss. You need to stop negotiating with yourself. When the alarm goes off, the negotiation period is over. The decision was made last night. Every time you hesitate, you give your limbic system a foothold to argue. Do not argue. Move. Start small. Start pathetically small. The life you want, the body, the career, the mind, the freedom, is waiting for you. It is real. It is possible. But it is standing on the other side of a wall called I don't feel like it. You have spent enough time staring at that wall, waiting for a door to appear. It won't. You have to climb it. And you climb it not by magically becoming a superhero overnight, but by understanding the machinery of your own mind, by hacking your dopamine, by shifting your identity, by designing your environment, and by embracing the friction. Discipline is not a punishment. It is the highest form of self-love. It is the ability to give your future self the gifts that your present self wants to destroy. Don't let another day bleed into the past, filled with regret and empty promises. The next time you feel that resistance, that urge to quit, that desire to pick up the phone, recognize it for what it is. It is the test. It is the moment where you decide if you are the animal or the architect, if you found value. In this breakdown and want to understand the exact step-by-step protocol to reset your dopamine receptors so that hard work actually feels good, I've broken it down. In this video right here, it is the missing piece of the puzzle. And if you want to join a community of people who are taking back control of their minds, hit that subscribe button. We are building something different here. I'll see you in the next one.